Delighted to welcome my first guest to the show. We are only 9 days away from the Cheltenham Festival of 2026. It is a week he and we would not live without, and it is a week that has been hugely important for him down the years as well. First as a punter, then for many years as a bookmaker. Recently, he has crossed the floor and has become a prominent member of the media, the star of the Racing Post, hugely popular Up the Ante series. But now he's back where he might argue he belongs, on the rails for Paul Byrne's Fitzwilliam Sports during the course of the festival. Welcome to the show for the first time, Johnny Dineen. Johnny, great to have you with us.
Thanks for inviting me. Very, very appreciative of the offer, yeah, absolutely.
Not at all. And how do you feel going into Cheltenham this year, back doing the day job, dare I say it?
Yeah, look, I suppose it was a surprise to me to get the invitation to do it. I didn't know anything about it until say, maybe 10 days ago. So I hadn't planned for it. I actually had booked to go home on the Friday. I wasn't going to stay for Gold Cup Day, but I've changed my flights now till Saturday anyway. So, look, it's something that I'd be able to fit back into seamlessly. I can't imagine. I think it's like driving a car, really. I don't see any issue in going back even after 5 or 6 years. Like when I left it, I'm actually intrigued as to how strong the business is going to be. People keep telling me that it's vibrant again. When I actually left it, I thought it was going through a lull. I left it because it wasn't viable for me to come from Ireland anymore. But now people are saying that there's business there again. I'm intrigued as to how big and how good the business actually is going to be.
So the buzz had gone, had it? So when you left the ring 2021?
Yeah, around
like that?
COVID, that year, yeah.
But you think it was more than just the pandemic?
Listen, for me, my turnover was falling nearly annually. You know, not so much in Cheltenham, not quite as bad in Cheltenham, but in Ireland, especially where I had about 20 pitches, my turnover fell off the face of the earth in a very short space of time.
Really?
Yeah. Like I could give an example of maybe betting in the Curra Derby Day, where I turned over a six-figure sum. The following year, I barely crept into 5 figures. That's like a seismic drop. And I couldn't see any major future in it, and I gradually got out of it as well. Now, I started to trickle away money at it too. I couldn't see a long-term future in it. And I said to myself, if I don't get out of here quick, like there was water on the ship and I had to get off before it sank completely. That's the way I looked at it anyway, you know. So, but Cheltenham was good to me now over the years, it was, and I enjoyed going there. But it's just that the expenses kept mounting, the turnover was dropping, the red tape was increasing, and it become like when you missed the year. Then he said, you know what, I don't really miss this anymore. I think I'll give it a swear from now on, and I got out of it, you know. Yeah,
and as we were just talking about, you've got 5 children as well.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And some of them were really young at the time, so I guess you're thinking, hang on a minute.
Yeah, well, this
isn't very clever.
That was the big problem too. If you were chasing money around, like going around following the circus, like we were doing for years. Your home life had to struggle, and I wanted to be around to raise the kids with my wife and go to their games and do all those kind of things that a father should be doing, really. Do you know what I mean? So, like, there is a price for chasing money around the world and leaving your kids behind you and not doing anything with them. You know what I mean? At least I was there for all their games and all their gymnastics and all them kind of things, and I don't regret doing that. But the big thing was the major factor for me was that I wasn't making money at it anymore. So it was easy to give it up. It would have been a lot more difficult to do all the fattery things if you were making bombs of money, you know, that kind of way. So it was quite an easy decision in the end.
And how did you dive into it in the first place?
Well, I mean, my dad was a teacher. My mum they're both teachers, and at the weekends he used to bring us to. There's a dog track in our local towns as well. You know,
which is where?
Youghal.
Oh yeah, I know Youghal. Yeah, Waterford. Yeah.
Yeah, it's near Waterford. Yeah, exactly, absolutely. So there was a dog track, and he used to maybe go to dogs on Friday night, and we'd go with our friends and we'd be mooching around and maybe having a pound or 50p in the tote, that kind of stuff. And from there you graduate into maybe like in a bet or whatever. Then he used to go to points of a Sunday, bring me along, that kind of way. And I was more fascinated with the bookies than the horses themselves. I was intrigued with bookies. They're more like proper bookies. Like the likes of Sean Graham years ago, show him in proper bookies, you know. And when he'd open up the betting for a race, there could be 50 people around him waiting. This was like the exchanges at the time. That he would open up the market, and then there'd be a flood of money for something. But it was fantastic. It was like going a version of Wall Street, if you know what I'm saying. It was like looking at fellas dealing in stocks and shares, the shouting and the runners running everywhere if they laid a big bet. I mean, it was really fascinating. And
so you're a young kid,
15, 16.
And that energy must have been electrifying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I mean, I like the horses, but I liked watching the bookies even more. You know, that kind of way. And my dad used to give a few bookies hands at the odd time. Clarkin writing down in the bets. This is before the computer age now. And eventually, he might have said at some stage, "Look, I don't want to do it. My young lad will do it." And I was okay at figures, so I could do it easily. And I was maybe clacking for bookies at 14, 15 years of age, maybe one night a week in the dogs and a Sunday in a point to points, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
So by the time I got to college age, I went to college for a year, won a Bartlett year, spent...
What did you study?
I studied, would you believe this, I didn't do a lot of studying anyway, because it was an arts degree which you could be a teacher out of or something. I knew I was never going to be a teacher anyway, but I had to, it was kind of like a thing that you did after your leaving cert or your O-levels over here, so that you went on to college. And all my siblings went to colleges. So I was the last one to come, so I went on. Went to university in Cork after about maybe 3 or 4 days, not interested. Spent them in betting shops every single day, or maybe playing cards or something like that, you know. Maybe, or sometimes we might go to court cases in the morning with nothing else to do. So the bench shop might know up to 11. So we go to the court from 9 till 11.
Just for a bit of entertainment.
Yeah, watch the cases coming in and you making judgments. And so you'd see these fellas coming in, you'd say like, I don't need to hear the case. I've seen enough. Do you know, that kind of way? But it was just to pass away. But I loved the gambling part of it and the betting part of it at the same time. And I didn't regret not finishing my college, because I didn't ever wanted to be a teacher or anything like that anyway.
Are you obviously quite an academic family? Or quite a smart family?
Yeah, not too slow. Yeah. My biggest asset was numbers, really.
Quick minds,
do you know what I mean?
yeah.
I was no good at languages and things like that at the same time. Very, like, I could get a basic D or a pass in an honours language, but I was better at figures and things like that.
So you're one of those people who can look at a spreadsheet and just go that. You see it.
I can work out odds quickly, like quicker than most people. Yeah, I can work out the percentage odds, anything like that. But that's about the only thing I can do, really. Do you know what I mean? But it was aligning it into bookmaking and working with bookmakers and seeing what they did. You could see the faults they were making. It's quite easy to see what they were doing wrong as well. Some of them, you know, like not every bookmaker I worked with knew what they were doing. And it was at one stage then it came to a stage where I worked for bookies, and I was saying to myself, I said to a friend of mine, I was thinking of going to myself, because I said, I think I can do it as good as some of these guys. And well, he just said to me, look, he said, what you should do is have a go, and if it doesn't work out, you can always go back working for these guys. And it's a bit like any fella in a pub saying to me, you know what, I can run my own pub. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, he can go back as a barman for someone anyway.
I got it.
So it was simple. And I got going. It then went to greyhounds, point to points, graduated onto race courses, and eventually finished up in a place like Cheltenham, yeah.
And how important is the showmanship side of it?
I think the big thing for me was, as a bookmaker, that you recognise people and that you were nice to people, and that a fellow that had a bet with you or a person that had a bet with you wasn't just another number. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to go to the dogs and maybe whatever, and I'd never give out tickets. Like, if you came in for a bet and I didn't know you, but I would know you, but I wouldn't know you, if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'd say tenor number 5 down to grey suit. Do you know what I'm saying? Or pink tie, that kind of way. But you weren't getting the ticket. But you knew going away that I might know your name, but I do know you. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think punters like the fact that they are recognised and that the bookie actually knows them. Because I remember when I was a young fella, I'd go to the bookie with my £2 or whatever, and he'd say, instead of giving you a ticket, he'd say, down to the kid. That was like, I was thrilled with that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? I was walking out proud. He knows me. Do you know what I mean? Do you know, that kind of way? Like, I'm not just another young fella to him. He actually knows me.
That there's some connection between you and that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's very important between the bookie and the punter himself. That you're just not that you're not taking 3, 4, 5 going away, you know, with your £5 each way. That at best you can, the bookie should at best make an effort to get to know as many punters as he may not have to know their names, but you could call, like I often call fellas English people, if they were maybe at Dogs and Clonmel or something like that, down to England, that'd do them, you know what I mean? Down to
and they'd like that?
Yeah, down to London. You could be from Newcastle for all I know, but you know, that kind of way. But yeah, they would. They'd rather that than getting a ticket that you may not know their names. You're never going to know all their names, but you know them at the same time, and they recognise them.
And do you think that's the reason why Paul Byrne has called you up? Obviously, you've become a media personality in the intervening period. Do you think that's why he's called you up? Because he recognises in you someone he needs to attract punters?
Well, that's their business, yeah. It's not every person I would have done it with. I know Paul pretty well, and he's a very nice fella, a very solid fella. You know what I mean? And I could never align myself to anyone that wasn't going to maybe not pay or something like that. So it had to be somebody rock solid before I was going to do this. And in a place like Cheltenham, it suited me fine. The fact that I have done it before, it's not going to be anything new to me. You know what I'm saying? And I will have some sort of an input into what way we're going to play certain races as well. He will too, of course. You know what I mean? But I'd say, look, I mean, it's a big marketing thing for me. Maybe at the moment they're looking at fellas like maybe me and they're saying like this guy is in the limelight. It probably suits our operation. Suits him, suits me. It's a winner for. Well, we may not win, but at the meeting, but it's at the minute it's a winner all round. You know? But
it suggests to me that he recognises that there's still that entertainment aspect to it that is incredibly important. That, as I said, it's that part. Yes, I need to know my numbers and be good at making a book, but also I need to be a bit of a showman as well.
Yeah.
Stand out.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, exactly. I suppose, like, you know, I'd imagine that when it comes to the day of the races, I'll have to make a big effort to be. But it's not problem being nice to people anyway. It's as hard to be not nice to people as more than nice. So look, I'll do my best to entertain, give people, look after people, all that kind of stuff. And I suppose at the end of the day, if a person loses their money and they get some sort of element of I don't know what even the word is, that satisfaction out of having a bet with somebody, well, it minimises the damage somewhat. Like, I don't know. There is not every pound you spend, you have to get something back out of it at the same time. If you get something like you go to a concert or something, you get some sort of satisfaction. I hope that if someone has a bet with Fitzwilliam bet, that they get some sort of satisfaction out of it. Maybe
I'm sure they will. Johnny, just for you, all those years at Cheltenham when you were standing for yourself.
Yeah.
When you look back on them now, not the end where you said, well, actually, it was getting a bit of a struggle and it wasn't much fun. The good years, the fat years. Yeah. How much of a kick did you get out of that, and what gave you the biggest thrill?
Look, we had great days in it, good days and bad days. Now, you know. I suppose the day that sticks out for me was probably the Denman siding with Denman, and it was probably my best ever day.
The 2008 Gold Cup, you're either Denman or you're Cortez.
Yeah, and I was in the right camp for change, whatever. But the fact that there was 9 races and it was like it was a manic day. You know what I mean? It was a really manic day, and it turned everything like. It kind of had the Midas touch for that meeting. Yeah,
because this was the year when Wednesday was abandoned because of the high winds. So everyone sat there twiddling their thumbs in the sunshine on Wednesday, and we had 9 races on, or 10 races on Thursday and 10 on Friday.
That's it, yeah. But absolutely, and it was a great day. It really was. It was a great day for me anyway, but it was a good day for racing anyway. But it was just a day that went right for me, and you get that. Sometimes you get those days. Sometimes, like the last festival I was at, everything went wrong. Everything that did touch went the opposite. But sometimes, like I often had meetings at Cheltenham where you had good meetings, but do you know at Christmas when there's nothing on and they show the festival? Mm-hmm. I was looking there at races some years and I said, Jesus, I was lucky there. And next thing you show the next race, Jesus, I was lucky there. And I didn't even realise at the time that I was poxed with luck, that I actually did win there at all. Because if the seconds won every race instead of the winners, I'd have been taken out in ambulance, that kind of stuff. But you never realise the luck. I suppose good luck. You never appreciate good luck when you get it, but you do recognise bad luck when it arrives at the same time. And I had really bad luck the last year I was there. The year before, everything I did, like coach and all them, everything went wrong for me that year. Yokes fell at the last, that they were going to win, all that kind of stuff. Short heads went, their noses went the wrong way. There's a huge nose for me that year was Mellon against Sam Crow. Mm-hmm. And to make it worse, I thought Mellon was after Nozzle. But doing the byline the first time, I was pretty sure that Mellon had won. That makes it even worse.
Poor old Mellon. He never won, did he?
No, he didn't win much. Yeah, he was a lot of seconds. But look, Cheltenham, it's one of the places you wanted to be. Like, when I went to Cheltenham first, a lot of the Irish guys, the bigger layers, wanted to be in Cheltenham, and it was kind of like a status symbol of some description if you got there. You know, when I arrived at Cheltenham, I was saying, like, I'm after arriving as such. You know what I mean? That I'm kind of half a proper bookie now that I'm here. You know, that kind of way. I never considered myself a proper bookie unless you got there, or maybe Ascot or one of those places like that in England. You were like one of the top high-end bookmakers, Irish bookmakers then, if you got to a place like Cheltenham.
So the energy of the ring might be back this year. That's what you're hoping for. That's what everybody's telling you. Why do you think that is, if that is the case?
Well, I suppose this frictionless betting is
People
probably...
can get on.
Yeah, they probably can, yeah. And I mean, there was always good a level of honour amongst off-course, like the on-course bookmakers, I should say. There was never any dishonour with regular on-course bookies, you know. But I think in latter years, there has been, like, from listening to people, there has been a share of dishonourable stuff going on with the off-course stuff, like making life difficult for people to collect, coming up with stuff like your bet was 8 seconds late, you'd know bet, all that kind of stuff. Things that you just never hear happening before, you know, that kind of way. Like, you fellas going in having their 40 quid at 7-4, next thing they're trying to draw their 110, you want to say it was 6-4. Do you know what I mean? All this stuff. And, like, I've heard situations where bets have been okayed and, say, X amount of money, a 10-1, they come in, and even the girl is wrong, got it approved, all that reference number, there was only 6-1, that was a mistake. All this kind of stuff happening, you know what I mean? That never happened on course. Like, if you had a bet on course, you got what was on your ticket, basically. And I think people get probably a bit upset maybe with the off-course guys, and there is definitely a level of this frictionless stuff that they bring in. They have definitely used the compliance things and all that to get rid of punters. There's no doubt about that. They have made life so difficult for punters that they don't really want, that they want them jump through about 100 hoops, and it's easy to get rid of them. Eventually, you might throw his hat in and say, look, I couldn't be bothered doing this, I'm out of here, you know, that kind of way. So they've used it as a kind of a way, not alone to maybe to be compliant, but they've also used it as a method of getting rid of punters too. So
you think actually that's then had a positive effect?
Yeah, but I mean, if people can't get a bet online, or
they are actually bothering to come and
I'd say there was always punters came to Cheltenham anyway. But
yeah, for sure.
I'd say it'll be even more so this year. Yeah,
but you can still have a whole load of people there and a completely moribund betting ring. But it's having the vibrant ring.
Well, the thing I noticed about the betting ring, especially in Ireland, there was still the small punters, and there was punters in 4-figure sums and up, but there was nothing in between. The 50 and the 100 pound men kind of disappeared, and the smaller punters, with all due respect, weren't much good to you, and you couldn't win off the guys betting in thousands. So there was nothing to really aim at, and you didn't have enough of, or had probably non-existent 50, 10, 100 pound punters that you might make a living out of, whatever. So basically, you were left with either you were clever enough to beat the guys betting in thousands, or you could go home.
Obviously, your role as a pundit and your role as a layer are quite different.
Yeah.
But can you apply the same principles to them or not? Because as a pundit, you've made your name by having very strong opinions and being incredibly entertaining. As a layer, can you stand there and go, you know, I couldn't have that on my mind. Do you know, can you, or do you just have to be a little bit more clinical in the way you think?
Well, I suppose I'll approach your races in say similar like Cheltenham, and I know exactly what I'm going to do now in some of the races already.
So you're already taking some kind of entrenched.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely, and but okay, there is an element of showmanship to saying, I don't think... Like, there are horses actually at this meeting that I think cannot win, but I wouldn't say that in public just in case they do. But and they're not big prices either. And I even hear people... I've been at Cheltenham previews and people tipping them, and I'm saying, that's no chance. I know it's no chance. I just, you know, you get a gut feeling about some horses, you say, that cannot win, in my opinion, won't win anyway. And I'd be surprised if they do. But look...
But isn't that part of the theatre with David, isn't it? David Jennings on your show.
Yeah.
Is that he's just serving them up for you, and you're smashing them back over the net every time.
The bottom line is everybody gets it wrong. And if I say, I don't think that's no chance. And if it does win, you get pelters from lads on Twitter. But that don't bother me in the slightest. Do you know what I mean? Because nobody's going to get every race right anyway.
So if you're going to go down in style.
Well, it does. I don't care. As I said, some people are like, don't like criticism. I couldn't care less. If a fella say, you haven't a clue, you know, all this, you said that couldn't lose and all, and it lost. But sure, look, it lost, so what? I move on to the next race.
So it's a game. In the best possible sense of the word, it's a game for you rather than your judgment or your judgment on a horse being an extension of your ego.
Yeah, it is a game, more or less. Like, I think the one thing you can't have in this game is an ego. If you have an ego in gambling, that's a big downfall anyway. Absolutely it is. Like, I've seen people over here that don't listen to people or whatever, or want to do everything on their own. I wouldn't be one of that. I wouldn't be one for doing that kind of stuff. I listen to a lot of people and will change my mind. My own personal opinion could alter if I speak to 4 or 5 people that I rate and they're going in the opposite direction. I'll be saying, well, I'm on the wrong, I'm backing up the wrong tree here. So I could easily turn around and say, if I fancy A and the other guys, everyone else I speak to that I rate fancy B, I'll say, no, I'm definitely on the wrong horse here. No, I may not turn around completely, but I probably won't back the horse. But some guys have this thing in their head where my figures say this and mine are right, and I'm going with that in the story. That is the thing that I think has found out a lot of punters over the years, that they don't really listen to people that should know what they're talking about. And
I mean, we've heard this week, haven't we? You know, I know the way you're thinking, back from 18-1 into 13-2, whatever, to defend his Gold Cup crown. For you, from a layer's point of view, are you thinking, right, lovely, well, if you want me to lay 13-2, 7-1, I'm more than happy with that.
Yeah, look, it is difficult to envisage. Like, he's coming back from the abyss, basically, isn't he? Like, he's coming back from falling out over his head at the last fence. His previous 2 runs, excuse me, are nothing to write home about either. They're poor, in fact. And it takes a big leap of faith to see how he can win a Gold Cup on the back of with the preparation that he's had. I don't see him getting much shorter than he is now either, to be honest. You know, I think when people come in and really analyse the race properly and the whole field is there in front of them, I think he'll go back out to double figures again. He's not going to get any shorter than he is now anyway. I couldn't imagine it.
And I suppose he's only an example to make the point that I was getting at, which is, do you mind about what you're hearing around and about? Or do you just try and shut out the surround sound and back your own judgment based on what you've actually seen?
From experience, I would say that you're better off going in what you've actually seen. But I wouldn't be dismissive of people that are connected to horses at the same time and know what they're talking about. And look, if obviously it's going to run better than it has been running, but still has got to run probably better than it did last year. And like, coming from where it's coming, it's difficult enough to see that. But no, I wouldn't be dismissive of people. Like, I would be in the Mighty Park camp if he went for the Turners. I think that's a weaker race than the Supreme.
Okay.
But you cannot fancy him on, like, he's won a no race. It's impossible to work out how good he is. But you're listening to people that should know and have seen good horses in the past, and they're mooting this horse as a possible, nearly the best horse they have. You have to take notice of that stuff. Like, it's not like I'm training it. Do you know what I'm saying? Or there's a very ordinary jockey. Everything is right. The connections are top connections, and if they know a good horse, if they see a good horse, they should know one. So you'd be very respectful of a horse like that, even though he doesn't have the form to back up being as short as he's going to be.
He's just enough to lose you an hour or two sleep.
How do you mean, sorry?
Just enough to lose you an hour or two sleep, yeah?
Yeah, look, I would be cognizant of people that have been there and done it, and have seen the top horses and know what a good horse looks like. Even though a horse like what I'm saying, Mighty Park, he hasn't got the form to make him a 4-1 shot in a race like because he's only won a no race basically. But that's the type of fellas saying, some people say you should never listen to hype and all this stuff. But there are times when you do have to listen to it. I think there is. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Yeah, it's just about exercising your judgment. Johnny, for the moment, thank you very much. Johnny's going to stay with us. In a few moments' time, Rishi Prasad will be with us live from Dubai.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.